A new thought. Gosh, I think I'm talking about that. We have just, I just want to acknowledge you see two kinds of dress here today. Those of you who are appropriately dressed in holy hoedown wear in your casual clothes, and Reverend Aline and I, who never get the memo because we dress in what we like. So holy hoedown or not, we're wholly dressed. It's our new thought. This is the way I do casual. Anyway, we finished. The reason that we're having the Holy Hoedown is because we've had 4 wonderful weeks of Adventure in Faith. And Adventure in Faith this year was all about building spiritual awareness, spiritual commitment, financial commitment. It's all about commitment. And today is the day to celebrate our growth, to celebrate this, what we've learned and who we are now. And I'm starting a 3-part series today, and I'm actually using my very favorite movie of all time to help me with these ideas, because here we are about to celebrate this wonderful growth, and sometimes when we get to a celebration, we don't really feel like it. There are people in this room that cried themselves to sleep last night. There are people here that found out bad, disappointing news. Something, maybe there was a diagnosis, maybe there was a loss, maybe a friendship separated, something. So we come to every celebration, every time we come to a celebration, there are those of us that are being called to look at things differently because where we are in consciousness might not be too celebratory. So you all know the movie It's a Wonderful Life, which is my favorite movie of all time. And just some backstory, it wasn't that popular when it was first out. It became popular starting in the 70s because the copyright expired and TV stations could play it for nothing and get away without paying any copyright. And so they did, and so many of us, my age and younger, have fallen in love with this movie because it speaks to the human condition. So imagine, here is George Bailey. He's a really good guy, and he's had many disappointments in his life, and this is supposed to be a very celebratory day. It's Christmas Eve, and his brother, who is a war hero, is coming home from the war, and he's going to be celebrated, and George, who owns this small savings and loan company, cannot find $8,000, which is a great amount of money. His uncle, of course, has misplaced it, and we, the viewers, already know that the bad guy in town has that $8,000 by accident, but he's not copping to it. Anyway, this is how George, very humanly, handles this time of celebration. The spots will likely need to come off too.
I'm sorry, Mary. Janie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. You go on and practice. Pete, I owe you an apology, too. I'm sorry. What do you want to know?
Nothing, Daddy.
What's the matter with everybody? Janie, go on. I told you to practice. Now go on, play.
Oh, Daddy.
George, why must you torture the children? Why don't you...
Mary.
Bed for 247, please.
Is Daddy in trouble?
Yes, Pete.
Shall I pray for him?
Yes, Jenny, pray very hard.
Me too?
You too, Tommy. Hello? Uncle Billy?
I'm in trouble, Mr. Potter. I need help.
Through some sort of an accident, my company's shorting their accounts. The bank examiner got there today. I've got to raise $8,000 immediately.
Oh, that's what the reporters wanted to talk to you about.
The reporters?
Yes, they called me up from your building and loan. Oh, there's a man over there from the DA's office, too, who's looking for you.
Please help me, Mr. Potter. Help me, won't you, please? Can't you see what it means to my family? I'll pay any sort of a bonus on the loan, any interest. If you still want the building and loan,
George, could it possibly be there's a slight discrepancy in the books?
No, sir, there's nothing wrong with the books. I've just misplaced $8,000. I can't find it anywhere.
You misplaced $8,000?
Yes, sir.
Have you notified the police?
No, sir, I didn't want the publicity. Harry's homecoming tomorrow.
They're going to believe that, well. What have you been doing, George? Playing the market with the company's money?
No, sir, I haven't.
Oh, is it a woman, then? You know, it's all over town that you've been giving money to Violet Bick.
What?
Not that it makes any difference to me, but why do you come to me? Why don't you go to Sam Wainwright and ask him for the money?
I can't get a hold of him. He's in Europe.
What about all your other friends?
Well, they don't have that kind of money, Mr. Potter. You know that. You're the only one in town that can help me.
I've suddenly become quite important. Well, what kind of security would I have, George? You got any stocks?
No, sir.
Bond? Real estate? Collateral of any kind?
Well, I have some life insurance. $15,000 policy.
Yes, how much is your equity in it?
$500.
$500. And you asked me to lend you $8,000. Look at you. You used to be so cocky. You were going to go out and conquer the world. You once called me a warped, frustrated old man. What are you with a warped, frustrated young man? Miserable little clerk crawling in here on your hands and knees and begging for help. No securities, no stocks, no bonds, nothing but a miserable little $500 equity and a life insurance policy. You're worth more dead than alive. Why don't you go to the riffraff you love so much and ask them to let you have $8,000? You know why? Because they'd run you out of town on a rail. But I tell you what I'm going to do for you, George. Since the state examiner is still here, as a stockholder of the building and loan, I'm going to swear out a warrant for your arrest. Misappropriation of funds, manipulation, malfeasance. All right, George. Go ahead. Go ahead. You can't hide in a little town like this. Yeah, Bill? This is Potter.
Yeah, Merry Christmas! Glad you come. How about some of that good spaghetti? We got everything.
Say love you bella, say love you cuore, oh Paola, voglio cantare una canzone d'amore.
Dear Father in heaven, I'm not a praying man, but if you're up there and you can hear me, show me the way. I'm at the end of my rope. Show me the way, oh God.
We could feel for George as he's saying, show me the way, God, show me the way. What he's really asking is for a new thought, a God thought. He's asking to have a higher idea, and because we know this movie, we know that he does get a higher idea in a very great way. Looking at my notes and thinking, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't. This is page 3. But what I've said made sense. Okay, now I'm on page 1. What he is saying is, give me a new thought, a God thought, a new path. So what is New Thought? That's the first place for us to start. New Thought is a tradition. It's not just give me a new thought, but there is a tradition, New Thought tradition. It is the religion that we're affiliated with, that we're grouped under all New Thought churches. So Centers for Spiritual Living, Unity churches, Divine Science churches, independent churches, the Agape Center, all part of New Thought churches or New Thought tradition. And some people get it mixed up with New Age. It really isn't. New Age is something that's only been around since the 60s, with the hair, and it's the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and now we have New Age, and so we have things that we think if we add them to us, we will have a greater experience, like crystals or readings or tarot cards or whatever. Nothing wrong with any of that. But New Thought is much older than that. It's at least 160 years old. And it really wasn't a new thought, but it was a new thought for the time, because at the time, religions were very based in, there's an authority. The authority is God, or the authority is Jesus, and the authority even may be the priest or the minister, but there is no inner authority. Whereas the New Thought says, just a minute here, there's something in every single being. And that something is healing. It's a new thought, a new idea. The father of New Thought is Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. Don't you love that name? Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. And Quimby, father of New Thought, because what he did, he studied mesmerism, and he realized that he could, that something actually could be done through training somebody's thought. And then he realized that the other person didn't need to hear it. He realized that the only reason it was working was that there was a power within him that was in the other person. That's what the New Thought was. Now, at the very same time as that, as the Mormon Church was being born, we had Mr. Smith saying, I am the new revelation. Quimby never said that. And any New Thought minister, we don't say that, do we? We never say that. What we say is, it isn't up there. It's in here in each one. That the minister isn't the only authority. Every single person is his or her own authority. That's the New Thought. And it's a very powerful thought. A very powerful thought. When we are really in alignment with the New Thought, the God thought, there'll be a vibratory match. In other words, when I am thinking a God thought, it'll be a thought of love, of harmony, peace, compassion. It'll be a thought that's full of creativity, juice. It's going to be juicy. If, on the other hand, I'm thinking where George Bailey was before he prayed that prayer, in that place of disappointment, in the place of feeling hopeless and helpless. And if I go down that road, it's a road of fear. Fear is the antithesis of faith, and there is no God in fear. So a fear thought, there's also going to be a vibratory match to a fear thought. But it's going to be one of divisiveness. It's going to be of lack. It's going to be a thought, a match of not enough, whereas a God thought is going to be a match of prosperity, of enough, of sufficiency. So Mary Morrissey was kind enough to gift me this idea and these ideas, and she shared a story that is this: New Thought brought us to the meaning of the Last Supper, and because today we have a potluck, I thought this is very appropriate. Why bread and wine are served at the Last Supper? Do you know that bread and wine were served at the Last Supper? Why? Because it was a potluck and only men were invited. Thank you, Mary. So if you think about your own life and what's going on, that when we're called to have a God thought, can be from something that's going on that's big, that's a diagnosis, a loss, something like that, or it can be very seemingly small. Yesterday, that was one of the last adventures for Adventure Man, and I was on my way. I knew I was going to be about 10 minutes late to go to the dance adventure, and I plugged in the address in my GPS, and my GPS says this occasionally, no such address. Well, I knew I'd even seen this place before. I was looking for lawn dance on La Paz. I couldn't find it. I thought, okay, what do I need? Now, I could have, because when it came to the shooting range thing, and I was late for that, I just decided I didn't really want that adventure so much anyway. But I really wanted the dance adventure. So, late or not, I was going to go. And I got there, and the God thought, inner GPS. The inner GPS guides me. Your inner GPS guides you too. If you just take a moment, like what I did, I just got centered and said, I'm going to find it exactly in the right time for me. And I got there, and Wade Wooldridge was there, and he just said, I can catch you up. And so he was showing me all the steps I'd missed, and it happened to be a dance that it wasn't that difficult for me to get. It was similar to maybe the one dance I do know. But the God thought was to depend on that principle. Some of you know that I'm selling my house, and so this afternoon there's an open house, which means that I had to change the kitty litter box and vacuum this morning before I came here, of course, in my finery. The new thought, the old thought before we were living without complaint, and I'm now on day 4, but I think it's actually day 1 again. Oh, but anyway, but the new thought, live without complaint. This is what I do. Clean the litter box. Needs doing. There's no one else living there besides me and my cat, and she doesn't know how to do it, so I'm called on doing it. So it can be as little as that, or it can be as big as finding yourself alone when you really intended to spend your whole life in partnership. God doesn't know any big or small. God does not know any big or small. So a God thought is going to be our most powerful thought. It's going to be a good thought. Now, God thoughts also are healing words, healing thoughts. And what we know is, we've come to know it so thoroughly, that our mind affects everything in our life. It affects our bodies. It affects our immune system, so it affects how well we stay well. And that's been proven. In 1979, Dr. William Tiller got the highest scientific award possible at that time for proving that there was a connection between attitude and your immune system. We all in this kind of church kind of take it for granted. But I also notice that we're not really very good at monitoring our own thinking or remembering that it's only a thought away. When we do find ourselves in great pain, sorrow, regret, or anything like that, it's only a new thought away, a God thought away, to change our thinking and then therefore change our life. There's a beautiful story from a book called The Gospel According to Zen that I would like to share with you. I think it really illustrates what we're talking about. A young man who'd had a bitter disappointment in life went to a remote monastery and said to the abbot, I'm disillusioned with life, and I wish to attain enlightenment, to be freed from these sufferings. But I have no capacity to sticking to anything for very long. I could never do long years of meditation, so that's out. I could never do long years of study and austerity, that is out. I know I just relapse and be drawn back into the world again. painful though I know it is there any short way for people like me? There is, said the abbot. If you are really determined, tell me, the boy said. He said to the boy, what have you studied? What do you know? What have you concentrated on most of your life? And the boy said, well, nothing really. I've had a very easy life. I was wealthy, didn't have to work. But I suppose the one thing I was interested in was chess. I spent most of my time at that. The abbot thought about it for a moment and then said to his attendant, call such and such a monk and tell him to bring his chessboard and the men. And the monk came with the board, and the abbot set up the men on the board. He sent for his sword and showed it to them, and he said, to the monk, you have vowed obedience to me as your abbot, and now I require it of you. You will play a game of chess with this youth, and if you lose, I shall cut off your head with this sword. But I promise you will be reborn in paradise. If you win, I shall cut off the head of this man. Chess is the only thing he has ever tried hard at, and if he loses, he deserves to lose his head as well. They looked at the abbot's face, and they saw that he meant it. He would cut off the head of the loser. They began to play. With the opening moves, the youth felt the sweat trickling down his back right down to his toes. And he played for his life. The chessboard became his whole world. He was entirely concentrated on it. At first, he was somewhat the worse for it, but then the other one, the monk, made an inferior move, and he gained position, and he seized his chance. He launched a strong attack. As his opponent's position crumbled, he looked covertly at him. He saw the face of intelligence and sincerity, worn by years of austerity and effort. He thought of his own life, how little he had given, how much he had taken, and a wave of compassion came over him unexpected. He deliberately then made a blunder and then another blunder, ruining his position and leaving himself defenseless. The abbot suddenly leaned over and upset the board. The two contestants sat stupefied. The abbot said, there is no winner and no loser here today. There is no head to fall here. Only two things are required. And he turned to the young man: complete concentration and compassion. And you today have learned them both. You were completely concentrated on the game, and in that concentration, you could feel compassion and sacrificed your life for it. Now, stay here for a few months. Pursue our training in this spirit, and your wonderful life will be assured. He did so, and he got it. So, the answer for us then is complete concentration. As we're practicing the principles of prosperity, as we're practicing the principles of life, complete concentration, to do our spiritual practices with complete concentration and always maintain our compassion for ourselves and each other. So, for me only to be on day one again of, I think it was like 25 days, 27, a long time ago that we did this, I bring compassion to myself and say, it's okay. It's okay. Complete concentration and compassion for self and others. So, beloved ones, create a wonderful life, not a mediocre life. Honor the light that you are. Jesus said, know ye not that you are the light of the world? You are the light of the world. You are. So in this genius, and as Paul said, I think in Corinthians, but maybe not, be ye transformed by the renewing of your minds. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your minds. That's a God thought. That's a God thought, and it's never too late for a new thought. A new thought. So today, I encourage you to continue making that commitment. You know that we've been making every week for our adventure in faith. And today, if you haven't yet made a financial commitment, make it. The treasure box will be moved next week, but you can always make that commitment. But more importantly today, make a commitment to yourself, to your own spiritual growth, to choosing a new thought, a God thought, in place of the thoughts that are divisive, that are fear-filled. Choose a new thought. I invite us together to practice this. And when we do, let's just see what happens. I know it's good because it's all God. And so it is. Namaste. Thank you.